committee meeting. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and first read the agenda. Ms. Spears, you'll do that. And then after that, we're going to break for 30 minutes to allow for any additional public comment. Remember that you just have to go to our website online to submit any public comment. Public comment has been open since we set the agenda yesterday. So Ms. Spears, if you would read the agenda, then we'll take us into a 30-minute break.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm opening the agenda. Sorry. Apologies.
Just for record purposes, I'm just going to kind of call the roll here. I see Councilmember Giarrusso and Councilmember Banks and myself, so we've got 3 members, and that's a quorum.
Thank you, Councilmember. I'm sorry. I normally have this up and ready, and I forgot. Utilities, Cable, Telecommunications, and Technology Committee meeting Thursday, October 8th, 2020, 10 a.m. Item 1, roll call. Thank you, Councilmember Moreno. Item 2, approval of the minutes for August 13th, 2020. Item 3, Resolution R20 blank, resolution and order authorizing an agreement in principle. The committee will consider a resolution authorizing an agreement in principle between Entergy New Orleans, the advisors, and other parties, which among other things would forego a 2020 formula rate plan filing and settle litigation related to the rate case. Item 4, adjournment. That is the agenda.
Thank you, Erin. So we will recess for 30 minutes to accept additional public comment. I remind the public that if they would like to comment, you go to council.nola.gov, and that is where you can submit your public comment in writing. So we will be back in 30 minutes. Thank you. Hey, Aaron, has it been 30 minutes?
Exactly 30 minutes.
Perfect. Great. All right. Well, it has now been 30 minutes since we recessed, so let's go ahead and call this meeting back to order.
Want to give a quick, you want me to do a quick roll call?
Yeah, that would be great, Aaron. If you could do a roll call, that'd be great.
Councilmember Moreno, present. Councilmember Banks, present. Councilmember Giarrusso, present. Councilmember Brissett. Councilmember Williams. We have 3 members. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Aaron. And our first agenda item is approval of the minutes. So I'll make a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Banks. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hearing no nays, the minutes are approved. And that gets us to our next agenda item, which is the formula rate plan. I believe, Ms. Spears, you're going to have a presentation on this as well. Let me just make a few brief comments, Ms. Spears, before you get started, because this is a really important item, and it really took a lot of collaboration from all of the different parties to get to where we are today. So this item considers the 2020 formula rate plan and finalizes an agreement in principle to resolve several outstanding issues in favor of Entergy New Orleans customers. The FRP is basically the annual checkup, and it is part of last fall's finalized rate case in which we ordered new lower rates for most Entergy customers and added a number of changes to the rate structures, including adding new green power options, holding the minimum charge static, and lowering Entergy's profit margin to 9.35%. Now, after that order, Entergy sued to dispute the final determination of the council. This agreement in principle ends that lawsuit, leaving in place the council's 2019 order. Due to continuing concerns over the pandemic and resulting job losses for our people, the agreement also removes from consideration any changes to rates during 2020, avoiding any increases that might negatively impact our citizens already struggling through the deflated local economy. This agreement is unopposed by any party. It gives finality to the council's rate order last year and gives ratepayers comfort that their rates will not change in 2020. I really want to thank the interveners, citizens, and Entergy New Orleans for working on this agreement. It is good news for ratepayers and another example of this council's aggressive approach on behalf of the people of New Orleans. So with that, Ms. Spears, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, council member. I mean, you pretty much hit all 4 of my slides here, so this is going to be pretty quick. I want to echo my thanks and your thanks to the advisors, Entergy New Orleans, and all the parties who participated both in the docket and in these discussions. Like you said, this is a win for the ratepayer, which is what we all strive for. Paul, can I get the first slide, please? So, Councilmember, as you mentioned, the formula rate plan is just an annual adjustment. Its goal is to avoid huge increases that result when you have to wait years between rate cases. So these are just annual sort of true ups between rate cases to allow for more predictability in rates. As you mentioned, if Entergy had filed its 2020 FRP, it would have requested a $32 million increase in electric and gas rates, which for the average residential customer would have been about $5.28 on their bills, on their electric bills, and $10.53 on their gas bills. And so for a lot of Entergy customers, that means a more than $15 increase in their monthly bills. Next slide, please. I think it bears emphasizing the devastating toll that COVID-19 has had on New Orleans and the local economy. We've had more than 12,000 infections, 589 deaths. Our unemployment rate in Orleans Parish is almost 13%. And we've had a wage decrease in the New Orleans area of 11.5%, which basically just means that now is not the time for any unnecessary changes in rates. Next slide, please. Which brings us to the agreement in principle. Councilmember, as you mentioned, this settles the rate case litigation. So it finalizes the great work that was done in the 2018 rate case and gives ratepayers the certainty that those protections will remain in place. There will be no FRP in 2020, ultimately resulting in $20 million in savings for ratepayers. And it gives E&O enough financial stability in raising its equity ratio from 50% to 51%, so that they can weather this troubling time. And the next FRP will not be filed until June 30th of 2021, so that we can get a better sense of how much impact COVID-19 will have, and that we can have a clear picture when we do have an FRP. I believe that's my last substantive slide. I'm happy to take any questions from council members.
Any questions? Seeing none, I will say this, Aaron, and to the other committee members, I think that, you know, this FRP and this agreement in principle that we have here really shows kind of the long way that we have come with Entergy New Orleans, at least since this council has been in place. I have to tell you that, you know, the change in leadership with Mr. Ellis, you know, taking the helm of Entergy New Orleans has certainly brought some very positive changes. I have found him to be incredibly responsive to the council's needs. It's really changed things. I believe that the company, while it took a little bit of time, has come to the understanding that the council's main priorities here are the people of New Orleans and making sure that they are providing that Entergy New Orleans is providing a great service for them, and that that the customer always must come first, and not necessarily the money that is being made by the company, but it's about the customer always coming first, and making sure that we have overall a very fair utility. And I just want to commend Mr. Ellis for his leadership and for his accessibility, because I think I personally, and I know other council members have too, have seen a change in this utility. That being said, though, we have had a couple of major outages that have occurred over the past few days. One in Gentilly a couple days ago, and then Councilmember Geruso, I believe one in your area as well yesterday. We received some initial details as to the potential causes, particularly of the Gentilly outage, which was equipment failure. I am going to be requesting from Entergy a full report on these matters as to why these particular outages happened, and I'd like those reports to be presented at our next utilities meeting. But anyway, I just think it's really important that we do give credit where credit is due, and I do believe that there's been such significant changes with Entergy New Orleans that those needed to be recognized. Any other comments on that, Councilmember Banks?
Madam Vice President, I just also wanted to commend not only our team, but say thank you to the Entergy team too. We are one community. We're all in this together. This pandemic and these economic times are devastating to all of us, and anything that we can do cooperatively to help move the ball down the field, I think is a great accomplishment. And while I by no means want to indicate that everything is hunky-dory and all things are perfect, because it's far from that, this was a phenomenal thing to do at this point because of the crisis that we're in. So I just wanted to acknowledge Erin and her team, the advisors, and definitely the Entergy people for agreeing and acquiescing and working with us to get to this point. So thanks to all of you.
Okay. Seeing no other comments from the dais, Erin, do we have public comment?
We have 3.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Marian Freistadt. I stand fully in support of the Alliance for Affordable Energy statement, which is, I support the agreement to help citizens during the pandemic against a rate hike for Entergy's new gas plant and the council's decision to limit Entergy's returns on equity maintained. However, we object to the resolution being hammered out in private, non-transparently, and not being given a public vetting. Andy Kowalczyk. Thank you, Council and Entergy New Orleans for this resolution and agreement. I am thankful for the intention of the resolution to settle the formula rate plan for gas and electricity rates. But I want to also point out that it also settles E&O's petition for appeal and judicial review of and stay of injunctive relief for resolution R19-457 that began when Entergy New Orleans disagreed on the return on equity agreed upon by the regulator. Forgive my critical tone, but this dispute would have been better resolved if it had been initiated by Entergy to begin with. Such is the way of frivolous lawsuits. Regardless, if the outcome is that ratepayers are not forced to bear burdensome costs on their bills during the economic crisis in the city, I can only support such an agreement. There is a matter of process, however, that I believe should be taken into consideration, though. This agreement was reached without myself or other members of 350 New Orleans being notified as interveners on the rate case. In fact, most of the information about this agreement was relayed by the Alliance for Affordable Energy. The fewer parties that are involved in a decision, the lesser the accountability. That's just simple math. Democracy might take more meetings, but it results in more transparency. And in that spirit, I hope there's visibility into the costs versus benefits that the city is paying for when the formula rate plan is evaluated. Thank you so much for your time. Logan Burke, she is a paid representative for the Alliance for Affordable Energy. Thank you. The Alliance is pleased to see ratepayers who are already struggling from COVID-19 and our local economic difficulties not have to bear the weight of new utility increases. Likewise, we are glad to see preserved protections against a rate hike for Entergy's new gas plant and the council's decision to limit Entergy's returns equity maintained, despite Entergy's pressure and legal actions in the courts. It is for these reasons that the Alliance does not oppose the outcome of that agreement. However, as so often happens, this agreement in principle was hammered out without the expected or transparent process. The waiver of Entergy's reporting requirements leaves the public in the dark and forced to simply trust the utility that their analysis is true. We believe in future, the council must take steps to ensure parties are treated equally and that interveners are not required to make decisions in the dark. This is why we could not be in full support of this agreement. Councilmember, those are all the comments.
Thank you so much, Erin. So I will make a motion to send this resolution to the full council. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Jeruso. I guess I'll call the roll. Councilmember Jeruso, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councilmember Banks, how do you vote?
Yay.
And I vote yay as well. 3 yays, no nays, Erin, and the resolution moves on to the full council.
Awesome. Thank you, council members.
All right. And I think that was our final item on the agenda, Erin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If there are no further comments from the council members, then I will make a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Jeruso. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing no nays, we are adjourned. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, council
Thank
members.
you.
Okay, thank you, council members.
Bye.